Right, it's time for the final video in the series. Here are my top 5 games of all time. If you haven't seen the previous 2 parts, go and watch them, because if your favourite game isn't here, it might be in my top 15. But time to get into the top 5. And at number 5 is WWF No Mercy. Now, anyone who's watched any of my content should know how much I love wrestling games, and this is as good as it got. The roster was impeccable. Of course, it was of its time, but it was absolutely perfect. The game modes, the story writing was weirdly good, especially for the time period. Of course, there was no voice acting, but it was an N64 game. What do you expect? But the actual combat mechanics were as perfect as a wrestling game is ever going to get. Seriously. They've started to bring back the No Mercy elements in recent games, inspired by No Mercy, because it was such a staple and such a classic, and it controlled so well. Alright, number 4 will not come as a surprise to any of you. And at number 4, Need for Speed Underground 2. The debate about which Need for Speed is the best is a very heated conversation, but for me, it'll always be Underground 2. The soundtrack was perfect, the visuals still hold up great today, despite what many people say. I think it still looks great. The different race types were incredible, and that 350Z at the beginning of the game is absolutely gorgeous. I love that thing. And there were plenty of other Need for Speeds I could have put in here. Hot Pursuit is a very underrated one that I still believe deserves more credit for what it's done. Most Wanted, definitely in the conversation. Even Underground 1 is really high up in that conversation. But for me, it's always going to be Underground 2. It was the perfect racing game in my eyes. Now, number 3 might be a little bit of a curveball, but if you've been watching my content for long enough, you'll know how much I love this game. And at number 3, Life is Strange. Of course, I can only have one game per series, which made this a really tough mashup between Life is Strange 1 and Life is Strange 2. But as much as the storytelling in 2 is incredible, I can't overlook the first one. It's so good, and it's just absolutely iconic at this point. I don't need to tell any of you how just important this game was. I love the idea of an episodic release, but as you know, I'm very firm on physical media. You shouldn't have to download extra content, which really annoyed me, but the storytelling is just so good that I just don't care. There was little secrets and little hidden parts that really pointed towards where the story was going, and if you actually went back and dissected it, you could have figured out where the story went, but nobody did. Seriously, not a single person. I won't spoil it because, again, it's an indie game. It's been a lot of time. The audience has changed. A lot of people might not have played this game now. Please do. I am not kidding. It is one of the best stories I've ever played, if not the best. It is objectively my favourite story game of all time. I love Life is Strange. Now, anyone who knows me is going to know what the top 2 games are here, and they're going to hate how easy it is to guess, but we've got to take a look anyway. And at number 2, we've got Conker's Bad Fur Day. Now, I am, of course, referring to the N64 version, not the Xbox original Live and Reloaded version. As much as it was a good remaster, it looked great. Censoring content is just the opposite of the point of a remaster. The point of remastering games is to give a new audience a new chance to play them with modern day hardware, software, the ability to play it on new hardware with that upgraded push. So that being said, it is almost a form of game preservation, so to strip content is ridiculous. But that doesn't take away from how much I love the actual N64 version. It was rare at their best, almost. But the humour was just so good. It was incredible. You can tell it was made by a British team, because Rare were very much still based in Scotland at that point. And one day I will get my hands on a boxed, with manual, mint condition copy of Conker's Bad Fur Day. This is my promise. One day I will do it somehow. Now, that being said, I am so predictable, I guarantee every single one of you knows what's going in first place here. The ones who have been watching my content previously, anyway. But that being said, let's get into my favourite game of all time. And there's not much debate in it for me. Now, in at number 1 is obviously, and you all saw it coming, The Simpsons Wrestling. Alright, put your pitchforks down. I'm kidding, I'll change my answer. Jesus Christ. In at number 1 is obviously Banjo-Kazooie. I don't think this is a surprise to anyone. I absolutely love Rare. They're my favourite developers of all time. And this game right here is exactly where they peaked. It is easily my number 1. There is very little debate about it. The humour was great. Not as crude as stuff like Conker's Bad Fur Day, but still well executed. The combat mechanics, incredible. The worlds were absolutely beautiful. And going back for stuff like, the notes and the jiggies didn't feel repetitive. They did a really good job of keeping things fresh. Despite being such a similar concept to something like Super Mario 64 at the time, it was a completely different game. And it was incredible. And honestly, the worlds and the replay value honestly stayed higher for me. Not by much. I could play either of those games for tens of hundreds of hours, but still, It's so much better in my eyes, and I absolutely love it. And the theme song from Banjo-Kazooie will be rotting in my head until the day I die. So that's it, my top 15 games of all time. But let me know what you think. Let me know what games I've missed, because there's going to be some. There's always at least a couple. Let me know your top 5, and I'll see you in the next one. Drop us a follow, because we're almost at 1,100 followers now. Again, insane number. I'm never going to stop saying it. And I'll see you in the next one.